Beware the entitlement. Hello, good evening, and welcome back. General election 2019. Lib Dems lodge complaint over ITV leaders debate. They do what they do best, moan and complain. Which brings us to two things which seem paradoxical, but I would say that they're very easily explained if given a moment. So, the first is to say that your right is my responsibility, as Peterson says. And that means that if you are entitled to something, that means that I have to be the one to provide it for you. Unless it's a God-given right, if you will, an unalienable right, in which case it's something given that nobody can give to you. But if it's any privilege or right that you want given by a government, then it has to be taken by somebody else, essentially. If it's anything you're not born with, then it's something that has to be taken from somebody else. And so, of course, I'm against that. I wouldn't say it's all right. I would say that's something negotiated on a case-by-case basis between parties, and only when you have consent to both parties can a trade happen. But that is capitalism, so I can see why these people don't like it, because it means you won't always get what you want, but it will lead with the happiest outcome possible. So, and that's also the essence of a good con, which is that the person who's been conned doesn't know they've been conned. The idea being that when you leave a negotiation, everybody's happy. It's not one-upmanship. It's basically saying, okay, well, I'm okay to compromise on this because it's not important, but it is to you. So we can both leave this amicable, instead of saying, no, I demand this and you have to give it to me, which is what tyrants do, which is what communism inevitably devolves towards. But the other one is to say, okay, so you have no right to these platforms, I suppose, then you have no concern with us deplatforming you if somebody has decided to say, we don't want your voice to be amplified, and therefore you shouldn't say these things at all. These things should not be permitted to be spoken at all. You shouldn't be allowed to even voice them. And I would say there's a disconnect there. One of them is giving somebody a platform in order to speak their things, and that is then a privilege that has been granted by an external source, which is to say that you're given a platform to speak. And the other is to say, well, no, this is just, as an individual, here's what you can do with the willing parties. So what we have here is the lady saying, well, hey, because other people have it, I should have it too. So, okay, well, if you should have it, then why shouldn't other people? It can't actually work that way. We're just going to have to stick to the principle that we've always done so. But we're not going to stop you from speaking. You've clearly made a name for yourself without us needing to platform you. We're on the way out as television, ITV in this case, as we. But we're not going to stop you from doing anything anywhere else. We're not even stopping you from being here. We're just not inviting you to this particular segment, but you can do whatever you want. But at least you know then that you're not welcome to this particular piece of airtime, this particular event. Fair enough, I would say. I would say you're not trying to ban them from anything else. You're just not inviting them to your own thing. That's fine. But of course, there's no case for Swinson, because her leaflet says that the next Prime Minister, is definitely going to be her, and therefore she needs all the airtime given to her, and she needs everything provided, even though she's most likely going to be the biggest spender, seeing how much of a Europhile she is, and therefore her donors coming from the European Union. Bear in mind, this is because the European Union knows that it's better off with the UK, and if the UK left, then the European Union would be fucked. But the UK would bounce back as it always has done, and as it will continue to do. So we'll be fine, there's no issue at all, and that's why the European Union keeps allowing us to extend our stay, because they don't want us to leave in the first place. But they've got to try and frame it in a way that seems like, well, we're being nice, aren't we? It's like, no, you're being self-serving. So, they say the Lib Dems have made a formal complaint after ITV said its head-to-head election debate would only include Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn, the leaders of the party. Yep. Baroness Brinton said Miss Swinson's exclusion risks misrepresenting the current political reality. So now you care. How about not leaving the EU after it being voted for? Do you think that misrepresents the current political reality? Moreover, believe it or not, despite them saying, oh yes, well it was the pro-Brexit parties that had the smaller share of the votes, and it was clearly pro-Remain and pro-EU parties that got the most votes, so we're clearly more popular. Dame Callum McCall, Baroness Swinson, wrote, voters of this country deserve to hear from a Remainer on the debate stage, not just from the two men who want to deliver Brexit. Yes, so Corbyn is apparently a Brexiteer again. Who knows? Who knows? This political flip-flopping it's impossible to nail him down, but of course he needs that or he'll alienate too many people. If he's Remain, then he loses the unions, and if he's a Brexiteer, then he loses the Champagne Socialists. So he can't win. Good. They say the Lib Dems have pledged to cancel Brexit if they win the election as a majority government. Yes, they're not going for another vote. They're saying this is the vote because this election is the one that matters. So, no. ITV, which announced the head-to-head election debate on Friday, said it would also hold a multi-party debate before the 12th of December poll. The Conservatives, Labour, Lib Dems, SNP, Brexit Party and Plaid Cymru will take part, represented by either their leader or another senior figure, it said. Why not UKIP? Surely, I know the NEC is kind of destroying UKIP, and they're losing, seeing as Richard Brain has decided to resign as well. Yes, he's chosen to resign. He hasn't been forced to leave. Yes, I know, but nonetheless, it's like, okay, well, why stop there? Why are you drawing another arbitrary line then? So, well, these things have to happen. There are always groups, and not everybody will be inside that group. So it's the same thing there for the Lib Dems. But maybe they will be saying, oh no, hang on, maybe we should be getting more people to speak up who represent social conservatism, seeing as none of those parties do. How about that? But of course they won't, because that goes against their narrative, because they don't care about the principle, they just care about winning. No bad tactics, only bad targets. So she goes on to complain more without actually giving any merit for why she says it. She's basically just saying, you know, this election which covers a whole load of things, and if pro-Brexit parties win, then we can say this was an election, it wasn't a referendum, therefore we need one. She's saying it's the same election whereby if a pro-Remain party wins, like Lib Dems, then it is only about Brexit, and it means that we must remain. Which also means, of course, that although this is an election for the next 5 years for a whole plethora of issues, all that is to her is saying, oh well, Brexit then, that's where we differ, therefore I have to be on stage for this one issue instead. But nonetheless, of course, they'll keep clinging to straws, they'll keep complaining while they're campaigning. It's the complain campaign, maybe that's what the Lib Dems should tarnish themselves with. But nonetheless, that's it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is it right for ITV to exclude the Liberal Democrats and just have two main parties? Or seeing as the Lib Dems secured more votes than both Labour and the Conservatives in the European elections early this year, and they say they've enjoyed fantastic local and by-election successes across the country, are they then up and coming enough to warrant a place there, and an exception should be made for that third party? I'm all for more coverage, personally. I would say a time and place, and I wouldn't try to limit anyone. So if she decides, well, what I'm going to do is a kind of late night stream, if you will, whereby Joe Swinson will watch the debate as a kind of live stream and kind of join in as a third party and broadcast that separately, then I'd be all for that. That also gives her the upper hand in knowing that she can destroy anyone's arguments and no one will talk back to her. So that could easily be a hidden gift, if you will, if she decides to go that route, and she easily can. Instead, she seems to just be going for the victim narrative instead. Like, I would actually have respect for her if she were to say, hey, I don't think this is the right thing to do. We're just as popular. And therefore, because I believe people want to hear my message and they don't believe what they're going to be told there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those two guys down, Corbyn and Johnson, at the same time they're speaking by hosting my content here. So every time she mentions, oh, it's not fair, for whatever reason, she also mentions, and I'll be streaming here or broadcasting here, so check me out at the same time, or instead of, because we'll be covering those elections or those debates, and then give you a better narrative the whole time. So I would have respect for that, and if I were one of her campaign staff, I would strongly recommend, hey, do that. That also shows then you're not someone of the elite, which obviously the Lib Dems are, but I think that's become a dirty word, so no one wants to be one of the elites anymore. And you're then someone of the people, especially if you stream it on something like corporate tube, which is still called YouTube, but you know, that's still turning. But I think it's still early enough for them to be able to claim they're a party of the people if they do that. Otherwise, they're just trying to make themselves look like a martyr. And funnily enough, they'll be taking the same talking points from people who want free speech and that they oppose. But nonetheless, let me know what you think down below, if this is just another example of hypocrisy, or if it's a good point, and what you think she should do in a respectable manner, and how she can actually get this to work for her as a victory. I'm always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.